Welcome back to the Grapple Theory podcast. We're joined today by a very special guest, wrestling writer, podcaster, commentator, basically everything apart from in-ring work itself. Ella J. Ella, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. How have you been?
I've been doing very well. How are you? Thank you again for having me.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm doing well as well. Busy as I'm sure you are.
Yeah, at the end of the month, I do have some time off because of my birthday. So I'll be taking a rare non-wrestling vacation at the end of this month.
Awesome.
So I'm excited.
Awesome. Early happy birthday. Congratulations.
Thank
Where
you.
are you going?
There's a place that's about 2.5 hours from me. It's called Watkins Glen. It's based on one of the Finger Lakes here in New York. So I haven't been there. There's also a really amazing trail, like a hiking trail with a bunch of waterfalls, and it was beautiful. There's also apple picking. There's a bunch of wineries around there. So I was like, I'm gonna go there.
Lovely. That sounds delightful. Yeah, love that.
Yeah, I'm super stoked.
A well-earned break. And it comes at a good time because we were talking about off camera as well. It's coming up to your 1 year anniversary of full-time wrestling work. And I remember when we had you, just as we were saying off camera as well before, when we had you on the podcast about a year and a half ago, you mentioned that your goal was to be doing wrestling reporting, wrestling media full-time. Did you expect it to be sort of so soon after we'd actually chatted about that and that was your goal and like then it happened?
No, that, again, this started as a thing, as just a hobby with my, podcast, and then things kind of evolved from there. I started working for multiple sites, whether it be writing or hosting, and then I just kind of fell in love with it. So I was like, I want to do this full time if I can, Financially, though, it wasn't an option for me for a while. I was trying to balance my shoot job with, could I also theoretically do this full time? And then, then an opportunity came up to write at another site, which would fill my plate and fill that, kind of act as a substitute to my shoot job, and then I got to make my schedule, and it's coming up in 2 days at the time of recording this. It'll be a full year. I never thought, I was just over 3 years in at that point to go full time, when I don't have a formal background like journalism or anything, but I definitely had a passion for wrestling, so it's definitely not what I envisioned myself doing, especially even just 4 years ago, let alone when I was in college. I was going for something completely different. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I can't believe that it's going to be a year at the end of this week.
It's crazy. Congrats. It's amazing. It's amazing to see what you've been doing. It's really cool. How was that last day of the shoot job before you left for good?
So I used to work in retail. That last day of the shoot job, it was our truck day, actually. So it was actually the most hectic day, but it also made it go by fast. I'd been there for 6.5 years at that point. So, I'd built up relationships with my regular customers, and, I had let them know in advance my favorite customers, I should say, not everybody, but I was letting my favorite regulars know that I was leaving, and they were all super supportive. Of course, I miss them. Luckily though, the work isn't too far from me. I can go there. I've stopped by a few times. But I wanted to take a chance on myself, and do something that I loved instead of, just doing it part-time. And luckily I have a bunch of sites that I work for that have been great to me and have allowed me opportunities. And so I'm just really grateful for the support that I've seen, even if I didn't believe in myself at a lot of these points.
Yeah, I was going to say, you did a lot of wrestling writing and stuff even before you went full-time. Transitioning into full-time, was it more workload than maybe you expected? Were you taken aback a bit, oh whoa, okay?
Well, to be fair, since I am freelance, I'm not contractually obligated to any places. I got to make my own schedule, and so I kind of had to balance it, because anybody who knows me knows that hosting, interviewing is my favorite thing, but that's not the most financially stable thing, because you're relying on other people's schedules, and I don't have a huge YouTube channel that's bringing in all this revenue or sponsorship. So I would say 80% of my, maybe even more of my load right now is writing, news writing for 3 different sites. Is it more than I expected? No, because I kind of took it on myself, it's just each different site has different ways of doing things, so it was just more so adjusting to their style and and consciously like, oh, I have to shift into this writing style or this mechanical thing every time I go in between. So it's not so much like the expansiveness of it. It's just I have to be sure that I'm following like guidelines and their standards for each different site, because they all have little different things.
Oh no, I got you. As a former freelancer myself, like that time when like you're working for one company writing, and then you move over to like you're doing something else, and you're like, oh, I'm still writing in that other style that I shouldn't be writing.
Yeah, it's like gotta flip between. It's not really even the amount of writing I'm doing. It's just I have to consciously like, oh, I have to switch back to this. You know, I have it all memorized. Like I've gotten it down now, but at first it was like I caught myself slipping into habits for like other sites, you know, while I was working on another one.
No, sure, I get that. And with like the interviewing itself, because you do loads of awesome interviews as well.
Yes.
Like, so with that, does it feel different doing it now, like being paid for it rather than when you were doing like your podcast and it was just a hobby? Do the interviews like, or at least at first, did they feel a little different?
I would say it's dependent on it. It doesn't feel too different. It's just dependent on who you're interviewing, you know. With the indie girls, I have more freedom, and I still interview loads of indie girls for WrestleZone. You know, the difference is just that, you know, I'm getting paid to do it this time. So I still have the same approach, you know, except maybe there might be occasions where we're promoting something like an upcoming show or something. But for the most part, at least for the indie girls, it's pretty much just like how I was doing for a wrestling gal, you know, the same approach where I try to go beyond the stereotypical questions, you know, talk about stuff that's outside of wrestling, but also intertwine it with it. So I wouldn't say my style has changed, at least with the indie girls, but I've definitely gotten more opportunities since I went full time with, you know, I just recently had my first WWE interview. I've gotten to do some more AEW with the companies and the PR. You kind of, you know, you have to take that extra mile to promote stuff, and you have a smaller kind of time frame for those, whereas where if it's like an independent thing, you have more time.
Yeah.
So with the like promotional ones, you kind of have to prioritize certain stuff while also balancing, we need to promote this, you know, but I'm also trying to ask questions that are a little bit different but not too off the ball, that you can still cultivate that relationship and further it, you know. So there's definitely a learning curve for me for the promotional interviews and stuff. But when it comes to my indie girls, you know, it's pretty much just been doing what I've been doing for 4 years.
Yeah, no, I get that as well, because like again, my current shoot job is like sport media, and so I interview like a few wrestlers from time to time, but then it's like, instead of here where it's like for an hour and we chat about whatever, there it's like, oh, you have 10 minutes and they're going to be building to this show.
You'll have like 10, 15, like 20 minutes max. A lot of the time it's like 15 minutes. So you have to prioritize your questions, but also relate it to the company. So you have a little less wiggle room with it. But I try to throw in at least, you know, like one or two, you know, like interesting questions at least in there during the time that I have, you know. So I completely relate to that. It's just dependent on the scenario.
And then it's over and you're like, I wanted more, like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, of course you always want more, you know, but you know, I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to, you know, speak with these stars. You know, I still feel like I'm starting out. I'm still working my way up, you know, the ladder and trying to get more. So, you know, I'll do what you got to do, you know, and it's fun while doing it, you know, enjoy the journey, you know, as they say. For
sure. And like when we spoke last time, I told you before what a big fan of your work I am. And we've had wrestlers on who have said the exact same thing about how much like they love your work and love talking to you and like love being interviewed by you. And like, that must be a really nice feeling in terms of like then moving into full-time work where you can like contact these people that you already have that like rapport with through doing the podcast.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that. I think I might have seen like one or two, like with maybe my girls Nightshade or Emily. I love those two especially. Yeah, you know, for a lot of this, when I kind of started this new chapter, I did lean on the people who were kind of already familiar with me, you know, as I was getting my footing down, you know. So a lot of those early interviews, indie-wise, were people that I had already worked with before. And now there's certain people that I've interviewed like 3, 4, 5. I just interviewed Alex Gracia for the 6th time, you know. So, you know, starting out, anytime you start something new, especially when I started my own podcast, I, you know, leaned on people that I knew already, you know, that were willing to give me an opportunity to kind of, I feel like that's what you should do, you know, and then slowly work your way. And then slowly, you know, I grew the guts, the balls, as they say, to, you know, reach out to people that I hadn't worked with before, or maybe were at like I don't know, like former WWE stars that I maybe would have been afraid to a couple of years ago. You know, it's building that confidence slowly but surely.
Yeah, for sure. And one of those, I got to talk about this because, like, again, when we had you on the podcast a year and a half ago, I asked you who, like, you thought the future stars were going to be in indie wrestling, in women's wrestling in the indies. Yeah. And the top name you called out was Mariah May. And I think it's fair to say you got that pretty spot on. Like, she has had a mental year.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy too is this was a couple months ago, but before she went to Stardom, like she's had more matches during her 9-month run in Stardom than she did in her entire career before that. And granted, you know, the pandemic affected a lot of that, but that's insane, you know, to accelerate her work rate like that. I think she wrestled over 100 shows in like 9 months or something like that, 100 matches, whatever. That's insane to be able to have the stamina to accelerate, you know, that fast. You're kind of just going from like 0 to 100, you know, and especially for her, you know, and she won some titles, you know, she went far in the 5-star Grand Prix. So she is definitely like elevated herself to another level. And, you know, she, as of right now, she's left Stardom. There's rumors of what her next move could be. We don't know what it is yet, but she's definitely elevated herself and she's worked her butt off. So I am so proud of her.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, isn't it? It's like whether the rumors are true or not. Like even to have rumors, like you say, when she left the British scene, like she hadn't had too many matches. I think we interviewed her when we were first starting the podcast, and it was like her 40th, 50th match or something. Yeah. And then obviously like a year later she goes to Japan. She absolutely crushed it. And to even have rumors that like the big companies are after you shows how much she achieved in that time. Like, and the Japanese fans took to her so quickly. Like they loved her over there.
Yeah, you know, she fit in really well. You know, she had people who were already you know, familiar with the scene. So she went in as kind of, you know, a foreigner, but she adapted very well to it, you know, and I think she did phenomenal. And I think she enhanced a lot of her own skills, you know, she has grown a lot, you know, I don't think had wrestled much of the strong style before that, but you know, again, to accelerate not only the work rate, but also you want to be on that level with Stardom. I think that she kind of blended in like beautifully.
Yeah, and have someone like, I mean, like obviously it helps when you're being sort of like almost mentored over there by someone like Mina Shirakawa, right? Like she's insanely good as well. Like one of the best out in Japan, probably like one of the best in the world, but very underrated. Like she doesn't get the credit she deserves at all.
Yeah, and I mean we've also seen, you know, people have made like Stardom runs have gone on to, you know, like a Jamie Hayter, you know, we've seen a Bea Priestley, Blair Davenport now in WWE NXT. So I mean there's rumors that, you know, we were talking about one of the big companies maybe wanting to look at her. You know, this is like, it's a great thing for her resume as well. So I'm looking forward to wherever she goes next.
Yeah, you called it spot on. You just like, I mean, like, yeah, fair play to you because I was like, she's got potential for sure. Yeah. But the way she's risen so quick has been incredible. Yeah. So yeah, fair play, Mariah. Like, big up her. She's done incredible. I look forward to. We'll come to it later, but I look forward to hearing your predictions of who the next big ones are and who you'll get right this time.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot of talent on the scene. But I also want to talk about like, because as well as doing all your writing and stuff, you've been doing commentary work, haven't you, as well for Capital?
Yes. So it's been a couple months. Go. I'll let you ask your question.
No, I was just gonna say, how has it been? Like, how have you found the experience?
So it's been a couple months since I've done commentary, but we actually I'm getting to record commentary actually on this Friday for the last show that we have. I haven't been able to travel in person, and because of that, we've gone back to doing it virtually because I'm not able to travel a lot, you know, because of my work schedule. So me and Alyssa will be recording that. But yeah, you know, I haven't done it since June, so it's been 4 months. I'm a little nervous. And again, this is not something that I do like. I do it maybe on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, like on average, so it's not something that I have a lot of practice in, but luckily I've had Alyssa Marino by my side, who's like the connoisseur. She's done ring announcing, she's done broadcasting, she's done commentary, so I've learned a lot from her. Again, I haven't done this in a couple months, so I got a little bit of prep work to do for this one, but it's a great opportunity. It still terrifies me a little bit because I don't have like all these reps in. It's actually coming up on 2 years since I've been doing it. We started it in late 2021. So I would say it's still kind of like in development. I'm still like finding my voice. And again, I don't do this on a regular basis. It's not my main thing, but it's still something that I like doing, especially for an all women's promotion like CCW, where I know a lot of the girls that are working there. Anyway, Aisha, well, she's from Australia, but Myla Grace was just over there for this show, so I believe I'm gonna get to call one of her matches.
Nice.
Hannah Taylor is coming up there. So they've been bringing over some UK people, so I'm excited. I get to call some of my girls over from the UK. That's super exciting to me as well.
Yeah, no, and again, know how much you love Hannah Taylor, and like she was another one you shouted out last year and year and a half, and like she's had a very different year as well, as fair to say, but what a fucking warrior. Like, unbelievable. And now she's back in the ring. That's mad. It's so incredible.
I know. We're scheduled to have a chat in a couple weeks when she's feeling better. Nice. She just had to pull from the Nova show. I saw that. And she's feeling a bit under the weather. But yeah, we have a lot to catch up on because the last time I spoke with her was in the midst of her, not career ending, but a very serious injury after she had a stroke, I believe it was. So for her to fight back through that, we got a lot to catch up on. And now seeing her back in the scene, though, makes me really happy. Yeah,
she's been through so much. And, like, again, to fight through that, to even get back in the ring is just, like, so ridiculously cool. Yeah. Like, such a powerhouse.
I know. I'm super excited. And, Mariah's back in the UK. Her and Mariah may be able to do some things together. I don't know.
They had such a good feud going as well.
I know.
Like, we got to rekindle some of that. That like frenemy relationship they have in and out the ring is brilliant.
I hope some promotions. I don't know Mariah's schedule, but I know it's something that I can say that Hannah would definitely be interested in doing more of, in addition to social media, on an actual show. Would be cool to kind of revisit that.
Yeah, and hopefully Mariah gets some more UK reps in, before whatever happens, because I think as well, I think that would just be a call for her, right? For the UK crowd to be like, shit, she has grown so much from when she left.
I'd want to see what, I want to see her implement herself back into the UK scene and bring some of those, like you said, things she learned from Japan and implement it into her work now in her home base in the UK, or maybe even, I was talking to her recently, we hope that she's back in the States, so just wherever she goes, hopefully she takes that and applies it into her work. I think she will, because, it's a valuable lesson. So I think her style just keeps evolving, and so whatever may lay ahead for her, I think a lot of people are going to have their eyes on it.
No, for sure. So back to Capital, because I didn't finish asking about that. But how did that come about? Did you contact them, or did they get in touch with you, or?
No. So again, at this time, this was late 2020, was it 2020? No, this was late 2021. Capital Championship Wrestling, I believe, just launched that fall. I want to say like August or September of 2021. So they were still fairly new, they're still they were building their identity and building, their broadcast team. They had already had Sam Laterna, who's amazing, is kind of doing ring announcing and, behind the scenes, interviewing and stuff. So they were looking to build their commentary team. And so, it just came together. The owner's name is Marcello. He's done a couple of promotional appearances, so shout out to him. He reached out to me and then linked me up with Alyssa. And then from there, we kind of became, we do it virtually, so it works for me and Alyssa, because I can't travel to a lot of shows. She's closer because they perform around Delaware, Jersey, Philly. Alyssa's right in Philly, so she's able to travel more than I am. So we worked out a thing to do it in post-production, and, it was mortifying at first. I've gotten a little bit more comfortable with it, but I have no background in it. So again, it was also just another case of somebody knew I had the, a passion for women's wrestling, and somebody giving me a chance to do something new, and I'm also kind of grateful that it was kind of in post-production because we could edit things, whereas if it was live, I honestly don't know if I would have said yes. I think I would have been brutally even more mortified, because live is just a whole other thing, because you can't really edit stuff out after. Even if you could edit stuff out, people are still going to hear you, so Marcello just gave me an opportunity. I had already done interviews to promote their show with a couple of their talents the month before. I interviewed Kylan King, Willow Nightingale, somebody else, Christy Janes. So I had done a couple interviews for a wrestling gal to promote their show. And so that's how we kind of forged that. And then a month later, he was like, do you want to be part of our commentary team? And then, so that's what I first kind of engaged with Alyssa, who's now one of my best friends.
Yeah, and that's such a cool thing as well. I imagine for you as well, to have this company come to you, knowing you have this depth of knowledge of women's wrestling, that want you to be part of it because of all that.
Yeah, I definitely was honored, but also again, it was very scary going into something that it was kind of unfamiliar territory for me, even like when I started writing, of course, I took a minor in creative writing, and I took some journalism courses and communication courses in college, but I was not a journalism major. I didn't know how do you format a certain thing for news writing? And I was also lucky enough that I had people who were veterans kind of guide me into it and ease me into it. So a lot of this, again, has kind of been learning on the job and going with the flow. And I've been lucky enough in all aspects to be surrounded by people who have a wealth of knowledge and are also generous enough to share it with me. And then I try to not commentary per se, but in other aspects, people now look to me for certain things. So it's kind of a cool full circle thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I know something else I wanted to get into is just in terms of the dynamics of your wrestling work full time. Because I know you've sort of mentioned stuff about it on other podcasts and stuff that you've done. But when you're doing all this full time and you sort of put a backbone on a wrestling gal and your own sort of hobby podcast wrestling work, is that almost at least at first, or maybe even still now, was it almost a bittersweet thing where you were I wish I had time to do this stuff still?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I wish I did, but also, a lot of the, I still have the freedom to do it whenever I want, it's just, with all of my hours, with all of that, I just didn't feel that I could give 100% into it. And, I don't want to go through something feeling even before I went full time, I feel after I want to say after WrestleMania last year, I went to WrestleMania in Dallas. I feel even after that, I just kind of, I don't know, didn't say lost my passion for it, but it just there was so much other stuff going on that it kind of became overwhelming, and I wanted to, I don't know, I didn't want to seem insincere, I wanted, of course I had content filmed, but it was just so much is going on, and I felt bad that it kind of went on the back burner, and I didn't want to promote something that I wasn't fully invested in, and it's not because I'm not passionate about it, it's just, all of this other stuff is kind of, consuming my life right now, but a lot of the, like I said, I used to interview primarily indie girls on there, and I'm still doing that with WrestleZone, so I still feel in a way, a wrestling gal, still kind of the spirit of it lives on, because I still do, WrestleZone still lets me interview at almost every single week this year, I've released an interview with some indie girls, and so I feel the spirit of it still lives on in a way, and I'm still writing women's wrestling content, still recording interviews for it, so I feel it lives on just in a different outlet. But I definitely, I wish I had the time, but I'm also, logical enough to know that I would burn myself out even more, if I were, because before I used to release multiple episodes a week, sometimes 3 a week, and even just 1 a week, I feel it's just a lot, when you're recording multiple interviews for other I record interviews for SE Scoops and WrestleZone. So trying to add on a third interview in like a week is just, I feel like it's just not gonna work out, just for my own mental.
No, sure. Like, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, I mean, we all love wrestling. That's why we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
But like, sometimes, especially with the amount of content there is, like, sometimes you can have too much of a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you need something else to take the edge off.
Yeah, and like I said, it's still kind of living on, just under a different umbrella. But it's a hiatus. I don't know the future. Of course, I at the very least I want to get to 300 episodes. I think I left off at 279. I at least want to get to like 300. Then I could feel like I could cap it off. The future's uncertain. Maybe I'm not closing the door on it. The future's always uncertain. I might go back to it, like more consistently. But for right now, I wanted to focus on my full time, as I was gaining my footing to that, especially early on. And I think I've gained my footing a lot in the full time status.
For sure. No, absolutely. And it's actually quite convenient timing, because you mentioned all that stuff that you do and the work you've done. But we're recording this, and this is going to go out the week that the PWI Women's 250 2023 comes out. And I know we mainly talk about indie wrestling here, but I'm just interested from your point of view, unless you already know, in which case it would be a spoiler, but who would you have at the top of the Women's 250 this year? Who do you think has had the best year in wrestling?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can confirm that I do not have any knowledge. I wasn't involved in this year's issue, so I'm going in blind just like everybody else. Man, it's really hard. I'm just like trying to think, there's, again, I don't watch Stardom enough consistently to like know, but I feel like it could be another Stardom girl. There's just a bunch of names over there that I've heard that have been doing fantastic. If we're like thinking maybe, it's really hard.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, because like people who like started off, who had like first great halves of the evaluation period, say like a Jamie Hayter, or it's active in the second half of that because of injury or stuff like that,
Yeah, like a Jade Cargill as well, someone like that, like.
Yeah, who like were absent for many months, or there's people who won championships like in the middle, but their first and ending stuff like wasn't as strong.
It's tough, isn't it? I still go, well, sort of indie. It depends how you define indie, but it depends. I always argue with the selection process, because I'm not in it, so I don't fully understand it. But in my mind, Miyu Yamashita is the best women's wrestler in the world, and I will hear no other word against her.
I don't know, I'm trying. Like, are you just asking for like number one, or like what indies do I think are on there?
Like in general, who do you like? Who would you like to see at the top of it? And like, if we were gonna go from indie point of view, who else would you like to see in it?
I think Rhea Ripley is definitely going to be up there. She won the Women's Royal Rumble. She defeated Charlotte Flair in, dare I say, one of the best matches of the year, WrestleMania Night 1, against Charlotte Flair to win the title. I feel like Io Sky should be up there too. Last year she had 2 reigns as WWE Women's Tag Team Champion. She had a banger against Bianca Belair at Backlash. She won the Women's Championship. She is the Women's Champion now. Bianca, I feel like, is going to be pretty high. The first half, she was very strong, defeated Asuka. Coming in, she defeated Alexa Bliss. She had a history-making reign. She lost the title, but she won the title again. She was there for pretty much almost the entire period, except for basically September.
There's a few names there, isn't there?
I think Hyon should be very high, to be honest. But again, I don't have much insight into this year's list. I think Hyon could be very high. Vert Vixen, I think Vert Vixen is going to have the biggest jump. Maybe other than Becca as well. I think Vert Vixen or Becca, at least on the indie scope, may have the biggest jump. Yeah,
Becca's been doing great work. Like, she hasn't necessarily changed character or anything, but like she's like gone to this whole other level with her promos and stuff that's so funny. It's so enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, so I think those two are definitely going to jump up really high. Masha Slamovich also has been like doing amazing in Impact and outside of Impact. She was very high up on the men's list. If I recall.
She was. Yeah.
I think she was 15 or something.
Yeah, she was
that.
I think she was definitely top 20, right? Like she was the highest placed woman,
which is
I think.
Insane. Yeah. But if anybody's gonna do that, it's gonna be Masha. So I think Masha's also going to be very high. There's so many people. I have no idea. But that's the unpredictability that I love about it,
Yeah. No, you're right. There's too many names, isn't there? There's too many names. Rhea's a good shout. You said Rhea, and I was like, I can see that in terms of like the criteria they follow and what she's done. Like,
and there's obviously gonna be some Stardom girls in there. I just don't have enough knowledge to confidently say like who might be in there. But I would definitely say within the scope of like WWE, like, and the indie people that I mentioned, that like they should be like high up in it, or at least I think Vert and Becca are going to have a significantly rise.
I think I'd put Mariah in that list as well, because I don't know if Mariah made the list last time round, but she's got to make it this time.
I don't believe so. She definitely has to make it.
I'd be shocked if she didn't. It would be a travesty if she didn't.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Oh, Trinity might be a little, granted, she came in the second half, but also like I think was it last year? Yeah, so was it last year or the year before? Becky Lynch returned in what, 2021?
Yeah, late 2021, right?
Okay, so in 2021, Becky Lynch had returned like a month and a half before the evaluation period ended. I still want to say she landed like top 40 on that list.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, Trinity's been only active 6 months. I think she's going to be pretty high too. If Becky Lynch can be like in the 30s range and wrestle for like a month and a half and make it in the top 30, I think Trinity definitely should be at least top 30 on the list.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be shocked if she's not. No, there's some good picks. I think, it'll be very interesting to see. It's always interesting to see with PWI. Never not controversial in someone's mind.
Yeah, regard with any list, there's going to be some controversy, people, because it's, you're trying to be objective in a subjective sport,
Yeah, it's tricky, but always look forward to it. So no, that's interesting, and we'll see if any of your predictions there come out. But you mentioned Masha, obviously she had a great year with Impact. Obviously we're excited on these shores because Impact's coming over to the UK first time in like 7 years, which is mad. And I think it just sort of shows how much the scene has like grown, well, not grown over here, but necessarily like built back up again over here, because just this year, obviously, we had All In. The week we're talking, New Japan are coming over this weekend, and then we got Impact at the end of the month. Like, the UK, and take nothing away from the US, because you've always had a thriving scene, but the UK, I don't want to brag, but the UK seems like the place to be wrestling-wise at the minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, I saw Impact, they got Emerson Jane, and they got Alex Windsor for this tour as well. Will Ospreay is also going to be there. And they've also got... they've got the return. I can't even think of it right now.
The return? Who's the return?
So it's not a person. It's so it's like where they do the tryouts.
Oh yes, yeah. Gut check, right?
Yes, my mind is so blank right now.
No, that's fine. Yeah. I blanked.
They got the return of Gut Check, and I saw that their applications were full.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see. The winners will get an opportunity to get a developmental contract where then they can train at the Can-Am training facility in Canada. And so that'll be exciting, and maybe they have the chance to sign with Impact then. So that's a huge opportunity. I would assume in the upcoming weeks they'll announce more UK talent for the upcoming show, for the upcoming tours. So it's an exciting time, and we might see some future UK talent like as Impact superstars.
The one you're going to want to watch out for, I don't know if you know, is Leon Slater.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, Leon. So he's defending his North Wrestling, which is a promotion based in Newcastle. He's defending the North title on the Impact show in Newcastle. And I think it's like a special show, that one. It's called Turning Point, so I assume it's like a pay-per-view or like a special event. And if you get a chance to watch that, genuinely, this guy is going to be I'd be shocked if he's not signed in the next 12 months. Like, he is insanely good. And he's like 19 years old, and it's mental. It makes me feel very old and upset.
Yeah, you know? Same, even with me, I'm not even that old, but I still feel like, you know, I'm turning 26 this month. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of these wrestlers are like so young now. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, and then you have Subculture too as well, representing the UK, you know, Joe Hendry, you know, Scotland, and all of that. But, you know, digital media champion, he will, I believe, be one of the judges for Gut Check, along with Scott Demore and Gail Kim. So that's an exciting opportunity, you know, and I hope in addition to Turning Point, that they air some of these. I don't know if they're all tapings or if some of them are just live events, but I hope we get to see some more footage of
it. I think the first Coventry show is a taping. They've got I think they're doing Glasgow, Newcastle, 2 in Coventry, and I think the first Coventry show is taping, and the second one is Gut Check. Okay. And they're doing the Gut Check in Glasgow as well, and then the Newcastle one is like the big one.
That'll be exciting.
So it's huge, and like obviously on the mention of Masha Slamovich, obviously like huge in Impact, MK Ultra with Killer Kelly, like two awesome wrestlers, and the story they built in that is so good. Like we had who do we have on? Bo Bells. We had Bo Bells on the podcast recently, and like she's awesome, and she loves that storyline. She loves like almost like she said she loved like the queerness of it, and like the sort of representation it shows over, and like the way they've built it as this sort of like crazy, like, you know, enemies into like partners with this like, again, this really cool like sort of queerness melded into the whole storyline. And they've just built it so well. They're just both so good.
I know, and Impact in general, I feel like is just a very underrated product, you know, especially with their women. I would say they have one of the best women's division like in the world, you know, especially mainstream wise. I think they definitely, NXT has done really well too as well, but Impact has been very consistent for years now, you know, and plus we just had that huge kind of generational match at Impact 1000, you know. I feel like that was a true like culmination definition of the growth of the Impact Knockouts division, you know, and especially, I mean, Masha and Killer Kelly, I mean, they were just fighting, you know, with dog collars now, and now they're, you know, in theory, and what do they call it, metaphorically changed together, you know, by choice, you know, now they're partners, you know, which has been an awesome story to see play out. Yeah,
and you're totally right. I kind of like, if we're talking like Impact, AEW, WWE is like the big three, I think out of them, in terms of both booking consistency and talent, I think Impact has the best women's division out of those three. Like,
NXT is very close for me, but Impact has been the most consistent for sure, you know, especially like consistently every single show and every single year, you know. They continue to make history, and, you know, I'm excited. I hope we get another Knockouts Knockdown soon. I'm hoping for it, or, you know, I'm interested to see what's going to be the next first for them as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're just killing it. Yeah, big up Impact. Can't wait to see them over here. And like, again, I don't know how much you sort of like cover them in your work, but in terms of like what UK fans can expect who maybe don't watch the product that regularly, like, I mean, it's a great show, isn't it? It's like they put on some cracking content, like even women's division aside, like just in general.
Oh yeah, they've got a lot going on right now. You know, right now they're heading into Bound for Glory, you know, and then the big matchup, well, at least on the women's side, is Mickie James and Trinity for the Knockouts Championship. But overall, you know, they have a great, like, diverse group of people, and, you know, they have different divisions, you know, like if you like kind of more like high flying kind of like action, the X division is right there for you, know. The world title is, you know, it varies right now, you know, but like Alex Shelley, you know, Josh Alexander's in that hunt too as well. Steve Macklin is also in that hunt, and also like PCO has been a surprising, you know, he's been a veteran, but he's been a joy this year, you know. If you like the more hardcore things, you know, he's in there too as well, you know. And for the UK, kind of, you got Joe Hendry in there as kind of a little bit of a rep. He's a former digital media champion, and he's also got a great theme song.
Yes.
So that's always
Joe
been fun
Hendry
to listen to. Yeah.
Joe Hendry's theme is always the like one of the highlights of any show that he's on. Like, he is just wonderful. It's like It's like, it gets the similar reaction over here to like when Grado comes out to Madonna. Like that's, which we were all still heartbroken that he didn't do at Wembley, but the fact he got at Wembley was amazing. But no, you're totally right. And like, obviously it's going to be great for us over here in the UK. But you mentioned like the Mickie James match. I mean, is that tough for you? Because like, I mean, in terms of her run, it's sort of like you kind of want Trinity to keep the belt, but knowing your relationship with Mickie is like, are you a bit torn on that one on who you want to win?
I mean, it's just like knowing personally, you know, that Mickey's reign like ended prematurely because of an injury was just like heartbreaking. But you know, Impact really turned it around. You know, she won the championship after Mickie left. You know, Deanna's been like a workhorse for them and somebody that they can rely on. So to kind of have Deanna like it was beautiful transition, you know, this heartbreaking loss from Mickie, and then Deanna, the reliable kind of workhorse, to transition into Trinity and to work with somebody Trinity could trust, somebody who's been a focal figure in Impact, I think was a beautiful kind of not passing of the torch, but just changing of the hands of the title. And you know, I don't know how long Trinity's run is going to last. You know, I thought that she could have signed something else, but as far as I know, she signed a 6-month deal, which would lead her into the end of October. But I genuinely don't know what's going to happen going into this. Of course, you know, I want that retribution from Mickie, but I also know Trinity is advertised for these shows at the end of October as the Knockouts champion. So it's like, you know, I think regardless of who wins, it's going to be a banger of the match, especially for women's wrestling fans, as they say, it's going to be a mother off, as they say.
Yeah.
So I think we win regardless. You know, this has been a match when I interviewed Mickie for the first time, one of the first people that she mentioned she kind of wanted to work with was Trinity. #CountryGlow. So now it's kind of coming, you know, full circle. So I'm excited regardless of who wins. Of course, a part of me always wants Mickie to win, but also Trinity has had such like an amazing comeback story. So I kind of don't want that to end.
It's tough, isn't it? It's tough. I can't even imagine the pop that's going to happen though in your house if Mickie wins the title.
I mean, I feel like it might be a mixed thing because again, this is kind of a rare face versus face. You know, could we maybe get some heel Mickie going into this? Possibly, you know. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I genuinely don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool, and I wonder if either of those two names is going to be on your list for this final part that I asked you to do last minute, very last. So I appreciate you doing it because it was very last minute. But I felt the chat needed just one extra little feature for us to get into, and so I asked you to pick your sort of dream promotion roster: 10 men, 10 women, with 5 indie wrestlers from each category as well. So 20 total. So I'm interested to see, we're going to sort of like compare and contrast lists here. Where do you want to start?
It's up to you. I'm cool with starting with whatever.
We can start with men or we can start with the women. What do you think?
Let's save the women for last.
Let's end with main event.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Let's find my men's list here. Okay, go on. Who do you have on yours as like your top one?
Oh, my top?
Yeah, who'd be like the number one draft pick?
Number one draft pick? Okay, selfishly, I picked Hangman Adam Page from AEW. You know, I love my good old anxious millennial cowboy. Yeah. You know, he's been a former champ. He's worked with a plethora of people. I'm also just biased because he's one of my favorites, but I think Hangman has such like, especially like the Gen Z and like the younger millennials have such, you know, an affinity for Hangman. I feel like we relate to him. I think he would be great, you know, as a babyface, or he can be an angsty heel. So, like, I'm here for Hangman Adam Page.
I love that. Hangman's not on my list, and I'm very upset that he's not now. That's very. It
was hard to pick, though.
Yeah,
you know?
It's really tough, isn't it? It's really tough. The first one was easy for me because men's wrestling. Like, my top pick is always Speedball Mike Bailey.
Oh, see, now, like, duh, you know, I do have somebody who I think, I don't know, I feel like, I have 2 people that I feel like are kind of comparable. They kind of mix together to create a Speedball.
Go on.
So Speedball is definitely a good pick. I have Facade from the states here, who is, one half of the Neon Blondes.
Yeah.
Who is like such a great, kind of like Jeff Hardy in a way, just very fearless, but also he is very agile and high flying. I've gotten to see him wrestle in person, and from the get-go, I was just mesmerized by this man. Like performing in the ring, it was just so effortless and so entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I those are the ones, like, that's a lot like almost like a Leon Slater type, where like you're just like, he seems to be putting in no effort at all, and yet pulling off this shit. Like,
but also Speedball is just amazing. I'm sad I did not put Speedball.
Yeah, now, as I mentioned though, Leon is on my list. He wouldn't necessarily be my second pick, but he is on my list because he's a big up and comer. But I've also got. Also from America, New Texas Pro, former champion now, lost the title over the weekend, Brian Keith.
I also put Brian Keith.
Yeah, high five on that. Love that. That's that run has just been insane.
I want to say it was over 850 days.
It was,
days.
yeah. Which is mad.
What a run. I've gotten to see him wrestle once. Granted, it was very early. It was after WrestleMania night 1. It was a very early morning show. But I did get to see him wrestle, and I thought that he was absolutely amazing. And I've only heard good things about Brian. And to have a run that big, and he's gotten a rub from some very high up people I've seen recently, and he has, and he's had some cool opportunities lately. So I mean, now that he's like lost the title, he could come to our, hypothetical promotion next.
Right, come on, we'll merge the promotions here.
Yeah.
we'll pool all our money together, and we might be able to afford one Brian Keith.
Yeah.
Brian, if you're watching, come over, join us. We'll think of a name of the promotion later. That doesn't matter. That's not important. But come and wrestle for us. That'll be. Go on then. I think that's 3 each. So who have you got? Who else have you got?
Selfishly, you're talking about like big names. I have, I guess, 4 veterans on my list. Adam Copeland's Edge,
Yes.
That's like one of my favorites. He won the first ever pay-per-view I saw, Royal Rumble 2010. So this is more of a sentimental pick for me, but he also has, that star power. He can still go, and I know he wants to create fresh stories. So we can create some fresh stories here for you in my promotion, and yet to be named Adam Copeland.
Is Jeff Hardy on your list as well?
Jeff Hardy is not.
Jeff Hardy's not.
I wanted to be, I felt like Facade kind of fit that kind of Jeff Hardy, slot, kind of that. I wanted to be a little bit different than normal. I wanted to have different people who could kind of fit different styles.
I respect that.
So I felt like Facade, on an indie scope is very fearless, like Jeff Hardy is a little bit. Obviously Facade has his own thing going on, but I feel like in that aspect he's kind of a little bit similar to a Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, no, I get that. See, I don't have many like what you'd call like veterans, I guess, like in terms of someone like an Adam Copeland. Like, I guess the one on my list I'd closest call a veteran is Jon Moxley.
Oh, okay.
Because
I don't really have any. Oh wait, I do have kind of a deathmatch wrestler in there. Okay.
I have a deathmatch wrestler from each gender, but I feel like in women's wrestling, you probably know the women's one I picked. But
yes. Well, it could be one of two actually, because I have one deathmatch wrestler, actually, but there's also another one yours could be.
There are 3 or 4, but this is the one. Like, she's the one I always go to. So, but we'll see about that. Who else have I got? Do I have any other AEW? I have one other AEW.
I also have one other.
I know, I have 2. Technically, I have 3, but one is barely on TV, so I'm not counting it even. Like, he is AEW. It counts as my like signed list, but I had to think about it. MJF is on my list because I just felt like I couldn't leave him out.
Well, ironically, I have the man he's going to be facing, Bryan Danielson. After he won that #1 contender match last night. Technical ability, Bryan Danielson is the go-to guy for that. So, we need some representation in that department.
Yes, absolutely. Well, technical ability, I've gone for, I don't know if you're familiar because he's a British indie guy over here. One of, I think, the most underrated on the entire scene. His name's Brady Phillips. And
I've heard of the name.
He is wonderfully good, but he does not get the credit he deserves at all. Like, he's so underrated. And so I thought I'd give him the shout out here and put him in my list as well because he deserves the push.
Talking about underrated, I mean, this person has received 2 notable pushes, but I feel like overall, he's a WWE guy, but and maybe I'm biased towards him, but I think he is just the overall package. Somebody who is versatile, can work with anybody, can put people over, is great on the mic. People have made jokes that he's going to join the G1. People have also made jokes that he's going to join Lucha, that he's the next luchador. That is The Miz. I feel like he's so, people say good things about him, but I feel like he doesn't get the proper credit that he deserves.
Oh, you're so
he's
right.
also another veteran. He's so versatile. He doesn't have like a distinct style, really. He can work with anybody, And so I feel like that's perfectly, represented by the people are saying he's going to enter the G1 or he's going to be the next luchador. He pulled out some lucha moves. He's great on the mic too. So I feel like The Miz is just an overall package.
Yeah, I would love to see Miz in the G1, but you're so right. Like so like because he can literally wrestle anyone and put anyone over and give anyone a good match. And like just because he's rarely been the top guy, people don't rate him, but he's so good. Yeah. He's so good. I call that that's good. 2 on my list have actually, well, a few of them have faced each other, but 2 on my list are responsible for my favourite match ever. Still to this day, my favourite match ever. And that is Pac and Cara Noir. Because they are both so brutal in the ring.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if you've seen it, but they had a match at Riptide Wrestling, which is down in Brighton, over here, and it blew the house down. It was unbelievable. And it was one of those ones where it was like surprise guest. It was like, oh, who's Cara Noir going to be facing? And it was just as Pac had been released. And everyone in that show, like, spoke to so many people in that show. We were all like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if it was Pac? But none of us believed it would actually... No one believed it would actually be Pac. Because we were like, how is this small promotion in Brighton going to afford Pac? And it was unbelievable. It was so good. So they both made my list purely based on the fact that's my favourite match ever.
Yeah.
I don't know who we've got left. Put my list. I've got 2 more. Yeah, 2 more.
I have 3.
Go on.
So I'll name my last kind of mainstream guy. This is somebody who is very hard-hitting. And honestly, I feel like put on one of my favorite matches of the year that people don't talk about. I'm talking about Ilya Dragunov, your NXT champion. I still want to say him and Dijak in that last man standing match. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, so hard-hitting. He's somebody who can... has so much resiliency, and he also lays on the chops and can bring the physicality to the matches. Like, The Miz would be great at selling Ilya Dragunov's like chops and anything he throws at him. That's just something. Maybe that's just me, but that would be a match I would want to see.
Hell yeah,
I think Ilya Dragunov is also one, who is very physical and very hard hitting. That I would want to see him go against some of the other styles of other people that I named. But another one, he calls him, he's an ex-WWE guy. He's not signed, but he's pretty much everywhere. He is the indie god.
Oh,
Matt
okay.
Cardona.
Okay, yeah. Insane year as well. Like, what a year Matt's had. Like, and the way he's embracing this indie god thing is so good.
Yeah. And I feel like, he's great. He's done he can do death matches. He can also do comedy, but he can also do like technical work like an NWA. He was a champ for a bit there, but he's great on the mic as well. I feel like he's also, again, kind of this overall package. He can pretty much do anything, and he's very fearless, and he's built up his own stock, and he's been a huge draw for himself. So I couldn't not put Matt Cardona,
No. Yeah. See, I didn't put Matt Cardona, and now I'm kicking myself because it's such an obvious one, because he's had such a good year as well. Like I say, like the way he sells the indie stuff, the way he like has not necessarily, and I'm not saying that like some wrestlers do this, like some do, but I'm not saying all wrestlers do this, but some can like maybe like wallow in the fact, I'm back on the indies. But like he is just brought into it so much, and like I feel like enhanced it as well, like enhanced what it means to be an indie wrestler.
Yeah, and he's great at the storytelling too, him and Steph. Even without Steph, his storytelling abilities is also just mesmerizing to see. He can play that lovable babyface, or he can be that, cocky douchebag heel.
Oh, I still don't think I've seen a heel reaction like it when he was in GCW on the title.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember a heel reaction ever being that good.
great.
He killed it. We speak of underrated. This guy is underrated, right? Former WWE, current AEW, yet never utilized in AEW. It's Keith Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Keith Lee, he used to come over to the UK a lot as well, so I've seen him loads on the indies, and I'm like, how is this guy not a top guy somewhere? He's good.
I don't know if he was injured or something, but yeah, he hasn't been on TV lately. You know, they've teased some stuff. Oh wait, he was just on Wrestle Dream. Sorry.
Yeah, they had this stuff with him and Swerve as well that went nowhere. Like they was building to something, and then
the booking has just been off. But Keith Lee, kind of similar to a Jeff Cobb, is one of the bigger guys who can do can do the high flying moves too. They can pull out. You know, if I had another spot from signed guys, I guess because Jeff is signed with New Japan. I say Jeff Cobb is God because that man does things that I feel like somebody his size should not be able to do, but he is, and kind of similar to Keith Lee.
Yeah, him and Keith do exactly that. That. You're just how are they able to do this?
Yeah, and kind of for my last one, this is kind of a more closer to home one. He just came back. He was on the LA West Coast for a while, but now he's back. He's back in Buffalo. It's Kevin Blackwood.
Yes.
He was controlling, he still went back and forth between the West Coast and East Coast, but he is now back in Buffalo, and I am so happy. He's had some appearances on AEW. He's also made a huge name for himself out on the West Coast, so I feel like he kind of has cross-country, experience. So that was kind of another close to home one for me. So I had to pick Kevin Black.
That's a great final shout. Well, again, speaking of close to home, I'll end with one, again, close to home, someone who's had a great year over here. Michael Oku. Michael Oku's had an insanely good year. And I think, again, he's one of the top guys in British wrestling and is still underrated somehow. I don't know how you can be a top guy and be underrated, but but he is.
It's possible.
Yeah, but I think together that's a very good men's division. I think if we get to the stage where I think not even one of us, I think both of us would have to win the lottery for it to even be feasible.
We're going to have to share Brian Keith.
Yeah, but I mean, no, it's fine. We'll merge the divisions. It'll be fine.
We'll merge
yeah.
Okay.
It'll be we'll start our own, it'll all be planned. We'll start our own separate companies.
Okay.
And at one point there'll be an invasion angle and we'll merge them.
Got it.
Yeah,
I'm down for it.
No, well, we'll see how many similarities we've got on the women's division. Because this is, I think...
This is hard.
This is both of our wheelhouses. I'd say I probably know women's wrestling a bit more.
Oh yeah.
And I definitely know that you do. I feel like this is both of our wheelhouses. So I'm very intrigued, especially on the indie side, because I thought my signed picks, I breezed through quite easily. It was where it got to the indies that I found it difficult.
Yeah, kind of same. There's a bunch of indie girls. Now I'm curious, there's a couple people that I have one deathmatch wrestler. There's a couple people that could be
There are a couple, aren't there? There are a couple. My deathmatch wrestler, I always say it because she was my first ever favorite indie wrestler, is Charlie Evans.
Okay, so Charlie was the second person that I was thinking of. I have the US of Charlie Evans in there with Alley Catch. So they've faced each other before, GCW deathmatch, that's kind of their thing, I feel like they have that kind of vibe, but also Charlie's been literally, Allie wasn't she just in, she's in Japan right now.
Yeah, actually. And she was just in the UK as well.
In the UK as well, Charlie's been to Australia, Japan, the UK, the States, literally everywhere. And so I feel like, Allie and Charlie could put on a banger whenever. Allie's
a great shout as well. To be honest, there's a couple we missed out because you talk about deathmatch, and when you said over that, I initially thought Sawyer Wreck.
Oh yeah, her too.
But then you've also got Rina Yamashita as well, and the women of the deathmatch scene are absolute warriors, aren't they? They're so good.
Yeah.
That was it it was the GCW tour I think in Australia that absolutely kicked off. They had some. I think Masha Slamovich was part of that as well.
Yeah.
And that was, I saw some of the video from that, and that was brutal. Those matches were brutal.
Yeah, but we gotta have some brutality. I got Ilya Dragunov on the men's. We gotta have some brutality on the women's.
Well, there you go. You go deathmatch. Yeah, my first deathmatch booking is Charlie Evans versus John Moxley. So
Oh yeah.
If that's not.
Could I book a triple threat with Matt Cardona, Ilya Dragunov, and Ali Catch? I think she'd be down for
Oh,
that.
Ali Catch would be so down for that. She's so funny. Like the character as well. Again, almost not because the character's not like The Miz, but in terms of like you could put her with anyone and she'd make that character work.
I know. Yeah,
is
she's
like
great. I love her.
Yeah, she was. I don't know if you've seen it, but she was just over here. She did a show with Eve at the Yard Theatre where she faced Sky Smithson. And I couldn't make it, but I watched the show back, and like I spoke to my mates who were there. I was like, "How was the Ali Sky match?" And they were like, "It was exactly how you'd expect an Ali Catch Sky Smithson match to be." And I was like, "Yeah, I know what they mean," because they were like, they were like, "It's not very PG friendly." I was like, "Yeah, I expect that." That's what I would expect for those two facing off. Yeah. But what was that? Well, I mean, those are both very good deathmatch wrestlers. So that's very good. And very good indie wrestlers as well. In terms of signed, do I have 5 signed? Have I accidentally picked 1 too many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I have 5. And one of them's obviously Jade Cargill. Because she's in the headlines a bit at the minute, isn't she? For certain reasons. Like, I can't imagine what. I can't think what. But, yeah. So underutilized at AEW. And I hope WWE use her well.
Where do I want to go?
Where do you want to go? This is tough now.
So I have 2 AEW and 3 WWE.
I have...
Oh, wait. No. Okay. Technically, no. I have 2 AEW, 2 WWE, and 1 Impact.
I
mean, the obvious one for me is Mickie James. I was not going to have a list.
Not going to leave her off. How could you?
I'm just saying.
would have been a travesty if you had.
I would book Mickie James versus Ali Catch again in a heartbeat.
Yes. Yeah. What a match, for sure. How do I have? So we've got 1 WWE and Jade. I have... It's tough because I don't have many AEW because I think AEW do ruin their women's division. I'm one of those that I think they underutilize their division so much. So I have 3 WWE women and 1 AEW. The only AEW woman now without Jade on the list is obviously Jamie Hayter.
Duh, I had Jamie as well.
Okay, we'll share Jamie and Brian. That's fine.
Duh.
That's fine.
I'm just saying, like, I also couldn't have a list without Jamie Hayter. You know, she was the one. Well, it was Jamie versus Britt Baker, but that was the match that introduced me to the British wrestling scene.
Yeah, to Eve. Yeah,
and then to see how far they've come, and then have it come full circle in AEW has been awesome to see. So I could not have Jamie Hayter on the list.
I was going to say, because I think, did we talk before they started teaming together?
I don't know. No.
Were they already teaming together at that point when we first chatted?
Yeah,
because I remember you said that match.
Jamie came back in August 2021.
Yeah.
And then they started there. And I think we talked February, March of last year.
Yeah, that's a pretty wild thing for you, isn't it? Like, in terms of like just a fan point of view, for that to be the first match that got you into like the women's scene over here. Yeah. And then they're teaming together in AEW.
In independent wrestling in general, because up until that point, like I knew what it was, but I was like, oh, I'm like so like fixated on like WWE and like Impact and like the mainstream companies, I knew it was a thing, but I was like closed-minded for some reason. But then, Super She-Down, thank you Pro Wrestling Eve for that, providing an alternative for that day. And I watched that, and the first match I saw was Jamie Hayter versus Britt Baker, and it just... And then, just going on, I was just so captivated by it. So then to see that match come, or that, partnership come like full circle in AEW was like, for me personally, like unreal.
Yeah. Awesome moment. How many WWE women did you say you had?
I have 2.
Okay, I have 3. So I wonder if your 2 are the same as any of these 3. Because I have gone for Io Sky, Bayley, Becky Lynch.
So I have Io Sky.
But not the other 2. Interesting.
No.
Bayley as well. I think Bayley, like, again, I feel like they almost fluffed it, WWE, with her. Yeah. Because I feel like she was on such a high and they sort of cooled it a bit, and I'm a bit upset by that.
But she's, she's a great, like, versatile, I don't want to say utility player, but she's, again, somebody like The Miz, who is very versatile, can work with anybody, whether she's the top or the bottom of the card, But she's also had some highlighting moments herself, you know. I think she's somebody who you can rely on, and, Becky Lynch is a you said Becky Lynch, right?
Yeah.
So she's a huge name. I had to include like the other half of like my dream match.
Of course,
Charlotte Flair.
Yes.
So I mean, like, that's been the one that I've been shouting since forever, and I had it teased had it teased and it didn't happen. I couldn't not put Charlotte Flair. I think she's super athletic, you know, and she's constantly kind of revamping herself. So I mean, I have to, for me personally, I have to include Charlotte.
See, I don't know how you'll feel about this, because Charlotte divides my mind, because I have no doubt in my mind that she is technically one of the best wrestlers in the world. Yeah. I just can't get behind the character. It's that lets it down for me.
You know, part of it has to do with the booking too. You know, right now she's a babyface. She's much better as a heel.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, she is.
Like, even when, you know, excluding when she came back, there was a couple promos in the lead to WrestleMania that she was giving that were like heelish. She was leading into that a bit more. So, you know, I can see that from your point of view. I think she's better as a heel. You know, it's more suited. I feel like it fits her kind of character and like her identity more, you know, because she's Ric Flair's daughter, you know, and all of that. Just like, she's just super athletic to me though, and I think she, you know, she dresses like a star, you know, so I couldn't not put her. But for my last kind of, she technically she's mainstream now, but she still does a lot of indie appearances. Is Billy Starks.
Yes, Billy.
Who just won the Women's Grand Prix at Revolver.
Yes.
You know, I believe she beat Marina Shafir in the finals.
Yeah.
Billy, my gosh, that kid is like what, turning 19 years old?
Yep.
Like, it is only turning 19 years old later this year. She is insane. She's also one who can wrestle deathmatch, can wrestle technical. She has charisma, you know. She's kind of Athena's protege right now, but she also has herself outside of the AEW bubble, has built such a resume for herself at such a young age, you know? So, like, Billy's worked with, like, an Alley Catch before as well, you know? So, like, Billy, I had to put her.
And it's weird that you pick Billy, because I pick the woman who won the same day that Billy won the Revolver tournament, and that's Sapphire Reed.
Yeah.
Also very young, also extremely talented, also so good for her age.
Yeah.
That you're like, how is it even possible? So I like that. I love the contrast. I think, like, someone pointed out on social media, like, afterwards, like, I just love the contrast that they won their tournaments on the same day. And, like, they'd faced in Eve, like, I think, like, a couple of months before that, and that match was mental as well. Like, such good young talent on the scene.
Yeah, the young crop is really, like, coming up. I also have another wrestler who's relatively young. I want to say she's only like 21 or 22, being Sandra Moon.
Yes.
I don't know. Shout. I think she's in Japan, or she just came home from Japan.
Yeah.
You know, she is one Subspace Division. She's also one who has a very unique character. Former FSW Women's Champion. I personally I adore her spirit, you know. She also has a great unique character, very marketable too as well, and she just expanded her horizons. I believe she was doing stuff with Marvelous, I believe it was. So, like, what an opportunity for her. Like, Sandra Moon, I feel like she was on last year's PWI Women's list. I feel like she should be, like, even higher now this year. You know, she's been taking over the West Coast. We've gotten a little peek of her here on the East Coast, but now with her going to Japan, that's gonna level up her resume even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's been smashing it. Like, you can tell, like, her stock is just rising and rising. Like, sky's the limit for sure. I don't know how many you've got left. I've got 3 left, all indie.
3 as well.
Yeah, I've got all
indie as well.
I've got one, again, I've got a second Japanese wrestler, a second Australian wrestler, and a second British wrestler, and I'm wondering where to go first. What do you have?
I have all USA wrestlers.
Ah, intriguing.
But 2 of them have had kind of expansive tours of the UK and Europe.
Ooh, okay. So I assume one is who we mentioned before, Hyan, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Great show.
One is Hyan. You know, she was just at Rev Pro, you know, right before All In, facing Alex Windsor and Mickie James for the title. That girl is just phenomenal. And I know her goal is, you know, she's been at Marvelous before, to go back to Japan. That's another huge... I just don't understand how she is not signed yet. Like, seriously, like, this girl is so good and, like, gets her character down so well. She's also held, like, I want to say like 4 championships at one, which is ironic because my one of my other people, I believe, is holding 5 championships right now.
I think I know who that is, unless they've lost one of the titles. The last person I knew who held 5 titles, is it Viva Van?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Face of the West, Viva Van.
Insanely good.
Insane. Like, literally the face of the West,
yeah.
you know? She recently had a WWE tryout. I don't know how that went, but she has also been one who's been, like, steadily working her name and carving her identity. She really is the face of the West. And I think, you know, last year, I want to say she was number 50 on the list. She could easily be top 30 this next year, I think, personally.
Yeah.
Because when you think of West Coast, I mean, the first person I think of is Viva Van, you know? So, like, I feel like she's one.
For sure. If we talk about people who haven't been signed, who should be signed, that leads me on. I'll go for my Australian one based on that. You might know who it is, because I think it's someone who's so underrated. No idea how she is. And the only reason is because I think not enough eyes get on the Australian scene. But it's Jessica Troy.
Yes, on Collector.
She is unbelievably good, and I don't know why she's not everywhere.
I don't either, you know. I know, again, I don't know how they went, but I know, was she there? Actually, now that I think about it, because Impact had the Down Under thing, and they had, like, the tryouts, but now that I think about it, I don't think Jessica was wrestling on them.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, it's mad. It's mad. Like, I don't know. I all I know, even like over here, if I was a promoter, I would fork out the money to bring her over, and bring Charlie with her, obviously. But like, I feel like more eyes need to see her because she's so talented.
I know. She might be over in the States next year. I don't know for sure.
Oh, lucky.
She might be back. You know, she was here last year for kind of WrestleMania weekend, but she hasn't really wrestled in the States since. She might be back next year. I don't know for sure.
Oh, if she was, I'd be so jealous. I'd be so upset.
You know, I agree. The Australians, besides, you know, the Brits always have a special place in my heart. But like the Australians, just like you said, the girls, like, just in general, that whole continent doesn't get enough eyes. And so I feel like I always have a special affinity, special place in my heart for my Australians.
I feel like they're the underdogs, right? They're the ones that, like, because they don't get the eyes they deserve, you just want to push them. Like, like in the men's division, we just had the Velocities over here, and they were insanely good. Like, they got so much recognition for the work they did over here. And then, obviously, someone who's killing it over on your side of the pond now is Shazza McKenzie, who's been smashing it. And, like, we spoke to her before she moved to America, and she was like, oh, my dream is to move to America. And then she did it.
No, she's done it,
And she's killing it, Who have we got left? We got a couple left, haven't we?
I have one.
I have two. Well, she's injured at the moment, which is heartbreaking. She's got, like, a long injury layoff. But when she returns, she'll definitely be a part of this promotion. Because it's someone else who has, I can't remember having such a quick rise, and that's Rain Leverkusen. And she has been killing it. We spoke to her on the podcast, and she'd only been in it like a year, so she'd been in it like a year and a half at this point, and like she'd become a star over here. She wrestled in Japan as well. Like, unfortunately, she's injured at the minute, so all the best to her. But like, she'll be everywhere soon enough. She's very good.
Talking about stars, we mentioned her earlier, but I mean the international pop star, Becca.
Yes.
I feel like, you know, she's also one who I think should be at the very least like top 40, top 50 in this PWI Women's list. Again, somebody who again has had a couple setbacks with injury, but you know, she's carved a name for herself. She's done like Germany, the UK, you know, she's done like Spain, you know, she's been all over the US. I think she was in Japan for a little bit too, now that I think about it, unless I'm just recalling incorrectly. But like Becca's character also, maybe just personally, because I've seen her evolve. I first interviewed her when she was basic Becca, you know, and then she was the leader of the Scrunchy Squad. And now she's this international pop star. Just seeing her evolution, you know, I've gotten to interview her through all the stages, you know, and just seeing the progress that she has made and getting all these opportunities has just been amazing to see. You know, she's got opportunities with AEW, MLW, with WWE, like, you know, she's just everywhere, and I love to see it.
Yeah, her rise has been incredible. Like, again, we had her on, like, I think it was just near the start of the pop star gimmick.
Yeah.
And, like, just her promo work especially has just been so good recently. Like, yeah, she's smashing it. That's a great shout. I had to end with a woman I brought up earlier who, in my mind, is male or female top 3 wrestler in the world, and that's Miyu Yamashita.
Yeah.
I think she's so good. I think she's so brutal in the ring. Like, she kicks you, and, like, you know, from the crowd, you can hear it hurts. You can hear, like, the impact that it makes with her opponent. Yeah, I just think she's unbelievably good. I just think she's a ridiculously talented wrestler. And again, I don't know if it's like a maybe she chooses not to be signed or something because she's that good. I can't imagine she hasn't had offers, but who knows? So again, I think we've got very good divisions here. I think we should make a pact that if we both somehow win the lottery and have enough money to do it, this has got to be a promotion that starts. We'll lure all the talent over.
I agree.
This will be the new rival to AEW and WWE.
I agree.
Plow all the money into it. It'll be great. We're going to smash it. I can't imagine people not watching this product.
I mean, we do have a couple crossovers, which I'm loving. I'm loving how we're on the same wavelength with a bunch of these, We
didn't have as many as I thought we had. We only had, 1 on the men and 3 on the women?
Two, I think, on the women.
2 on the women. So they're not even that
Jamie
many.
And
yeah, Jamie and, who was the other one? And Io, yeah. And then Brian Keith.
The pool for the women was so hard to pick
from. That was
There's
tough.
so many. Like, for me personally.
Yeah.
There's so many. That,
there were so many.
Like Charlie Evans, would have been on there too, It's so hard to narrow it down.
I wanted Shazza on mine, and I was like, can I have 3 Australian? Is that too many Australian? I had to really think logistically.
Shazza's in the States now,
I had to think, I've got 5 indie spots. Do I want 3 of them to be Australian? Can I afford that?
She's an honorary American.
She got to that stage already? Is that it?
Yeah.
Big up Shazza. Yeah, she's smashing it as well. There are so many. Like Ava Everett as well. I found it hard to miss out. I couldn't believe I had to leave her out. But
again, she's also somebody who I've interviewed through who multiple character changes. Oh my god, her reinvention has been amazing to see.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool when you can do that and sort of almost take that journey with them as going through that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think that's a lovely place to end in terms of, we'll think of a name as well. We'll come back on a name. I'll put it on the screen here, but we'll discuss a name later, I think.
Okay.
I think if we discuss a name too early, it becomes too real, and then we'll be sad that it can't happen.
My mind can't even think right now. There's so much.
Also, there's so many promotions. I feel like every name is taken. How do you even name a promotion?
I know.
But no, Ella J, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a blast having you on again. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. A great mix of stuff. Thank you again for having me.
Of course, I'm glad. Yeah, we like to mix it up a bit. And yeah, that promotion will happen one day. We'll make it happen. It'll be a thing. Fingers crossed. Here's hoping. Keep an eye out for it. But of course, we always end by giving our guest a final bit of promo time. So where can people find you? Where can people check out your work? Why should people be checking out your work? Because again, like I ended the last time you came on, we're huge fans of your work over here and so proud of everything you're doing. And we want more people to be able to check out your work. So if they haven't already, where can they do that?
Yeah, the easiest way to find me is where I'm most active, which I'm not calling it by its new name. It's Twitter to me.
Always Twitter. It's always Twitter.
Twitter.com/itsellaj. If you go to the link in my bio there, it's my milkshake link. Linktree, I just use the milkshake one now. It's prettier, actually. So if you go there, you can find all my links to all my news writing, to all my podcasts and projects, and all my other social medias. All in one convenient place for you there. Why should you listen? Why should you pay attention to me? If you enjoy women's wrestling, I think if you enjoy women's wrestling, you would also be watching Grapple Theory. So if you enjoy women's wrestling, you can also watch, I do a bunch of interviews almost every single week of the year, keep updated on my socials. I'll post about them. I just had a recent interview with Alex Gracia drop. Next week, I'll be dropping an interview with NWA's Ruthie J ahead of their pay-per-view at the end of the month. In the midst of scheduling some other stuff, planning to be at Survivor Series next month. So if you see me there, please say hello. And yeah, my birthday's coming up, so that's also another reason why you should support me.
Absolutely. Well said, and thank you for the kind words as well. It means a lot, and genuinely so happy to have you on. Such a big fan, and yeah, no, just really happy to see you thriving at the minute.
Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun again.
Yeah, and next time we won't wait another year and a half before we have you next time.
Okay, sounds like a deal.
But also, we need to get you over to the UK. You need to come over and see some shows over here.
I need to get my passport first. I know.
Make it happen.
I've literally, like, I already have, like, 5 of my friends there who are like, you can stay with me, you know? But it's just, I need to get my passport.
Yeah, you need to get it done, because we got to get you over here and to experience some of this wrestling.
I know, I want to so badly. I have so many friends over there.
Here's hoping. 2024, that's the year. We'll make it happen.
Fingers crossed.
We'll make it happen. Ella, thanks so much.
Thank you.